Everything old is new again. America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, Mark, like a job for me.
Where's the goodies? Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
In this decade, Rod Carew's success at hitting a baseball that sails, slides, sinks, or bends by at 80 miles an hour has been unparalleled. Rod Carew has become baseball's best batsman.
I don't really try to do things that I'm not capable of doing. Mm-hmm. You know, I know my capabilities and how far I can go and what I can do with a bat. I've disciplined myself over the years to know that I'm not a home run hitter, so I'm not going to swing for the fences. I try to use the whole field because I think I can get more hits this way instead of just trying to be a pole hitter and hit the ball one place.
Welcome to Everything Old is New Again. This is Douglas Viviani with David Cohen, our resident statistician today. David, how are you?
I'm well. We were going to say we have a surprise guest, but I think you might have shown our hand, Doug. I don't know.
Major League Baseball's Hall of Famer, Rod Carew, is here. 3,053 hits, 12th most on the all-time list, 328 lifetime batting averages, 28th on the all-time list, 7 batting titles. Only Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner had more. Stan Musial tied him with 7. He's got 18 straight appearances in the All-Star game. He started every single one. Only Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Stan Musial were members that had more. Not only that, but Rod Carew's a survivor. He survived the pain of personal loss, and as we will see, he's learned lessons and continues to live life with meaning and purpose. Welcome to Everything Old is New Again, Rod Carew.
Thanks so much, Doug.
I know it's a long introduction. I tried to get all of it in there, and I hope you're not too shy, because I'll tell you, you've written a new book called One Tough Out, Fighting Off Life's Curveballs, and is available, of course, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you can get books. And it is a terrific read. I'll tell you, just to get started here, some of these sports books, they just go through, you know, I was in this game and it was a fastball and I hit it over the fence and so forth, and that's fine. But this book has some real substance to it. So if you don't mind, I want to dig into this a little bit, and we'll start with a favorite of David Cohen's, I think, and a gentleman that had some influence on yourself in the late 60s, the Twins manager Billy Martin, who maybe you could tell us a little bit about, but I just want to say he was on the field when Jackie Robinson stole home in the 1955 World Series. He was at second base and never forgot that. And so that had an influence upon him, and then in turn upon you. And he told you to use a heavier bat so that you don't hit for the fences. And I think that was some, I think you say, some good advice. You did change bats later on, like in August in all the seasons. But talk to us a little bit about Billy Martin and the influence he had on you in the beginning of your career.
Well, Billy was, contrary to what a lot of people believe, he was a great teacher and, to me, a great individual. He took me and worked me out at second base to become the best second baseman I would be. So we had a great relationship, because I think the key thing with Billy is that he wasn't looking for me to make excuses when I blew a play at second base. Always wanted me to come up front, tell him, you know, if I messed up or if I should have done it a different way. No excuses, no alibis. And I appreciated that, because, you know, I think as a young player, sometimes you look to try and get beyond certain things by looking for excuses. And that just didn't go with Billy. He knew when I was being truthful to him, and he knew when I was not. So he became my mentor. You know, he became my mentor, became my dad, my brother, my uncle, everyone that has helped me along the way. But he was very instrumental in me staying in the big leagues.
Yeah, you know, Rod, it's interesting because Doug and I are in New York, and we sort of grew up as Yankee fans. You're from the New York area yourself. And, we remember Billy Martin as, being the Yankees manager in those tumultuous 1970s during that period with the Bronx Zoo. And we knew him to be a great manager, but we didn't know, how he actually got along with the players. So hearing you describe your relationship with him is really interesting. What was it about Billy that, how is his persona with you different than maybe what it was on the field and that fiery player that when he was playing for the Yankees that we knew?
Well, I think the key thing is that there are a lot of people that would say a lot of bad things about this guy. Me, I don't have one bad word I can tell you about him. He wanted you to come to the park every day, ready to play, no excuses. If you're going to run all night and be in the bars all night and stuff like that, go ahead. But you got to know that tomorrow you're going to be in the lineup if he wants you to be in the lineup. And, that's the way he was. He wasn't looking for excuses. He didn't want players telling him things that weren't so. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy him so much. He became a father figure to me after what I went through as a young man growing up.
Right, and we learn about that in the book, and you can read that and all of the background from Rod Carew on one tough out, fighting off life's curveballs, and you did have some curveballs early on, and then you met Billy, and you also met Harmon Killebrew, who was a favorite of mine back in the day. I remember seeing him in some All-Star games growing up, and just being enthralled by the way he played and the smile, and we're broadcast all throughout the nation, and there certainly are people in Minnesota and elsewhere in Iowa and so forth that are familiar with him as a broadcaster. And I guess I just want to ask about the piece of advice that he gave to you, and or a statement that he said to you that it lasted with you, and maybe you could expand about that a little bit. He basically said it doesn't cost anything to be nice. So how did that affect you? It certainly did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I was a little hot-headed during the early part of my career. And, I didn't want to sign autographs. I didn't talk to too many people. And Harmon and I would get together and go eat ice cream because he loved ice cream. And we used to have like a challenge, see who could eat more in one night sitting. And I always beat him, So he always talk about when you sign your autographs, don't just scratch it. Make it so people can read it, so people know who you are, and treat people the way you'd like to be treated. Always be nice to people because it doesn't cost you a penny. And, I started getting out of my shell after I learned things like that from a guy like Carew, because he was one of the best individuals that I've met in the game, a true gentleman.
And that personality comes forward too. It just, in some ways, sometimes you could tell that when someone's playing, the game that you played as a profession. He had a smile on his face. He always carried himself with dignity. And I, through my travels, was lucky enough to get an autograph. I was going to ask you about that, and I knew about that. He's one of the only autographs that I have that I can legitimately tell you who it is just by reading that signature. Him and Babe Ruth, believe it or not, I have one of those. Those two, I could tell you. Otherwise, I've got to mark the ball a little bit, or you keep track of it. So it's an interesting aspect of his life. But he also had an influence upon you and Tony Oliva and all of you. Together on the Twins, and together with Martin, you had quite a team there. And all of a sudden, Billy gets fired, and then you've got to go on to the next incarnation of who's going to manage you and so forth. So and that through baseball, you move to California. You've had a lot of changes, but I think we could say, if you read this book, One Tough Out, Fighting Off Life's Curveballs, you can see how Rod Carew evolved not only as a baseball player, but also as a human being and a person, developing himself into, and I guess I could say this now that you've said it, so to speak, a nicer person, a more well-rounded person, and certainly someone that has some terrific spirituality involved. And I hate to leave it there for the moment, but I will leave us hanging. We will pick it up right after this and talk about and expand upon what I said there a little bit. We'll go out with the Minnesota Twins theme song, but we'll be back right after this on Everything Old is New Again.
We're gonna win, Twins. Watch that baseball song. Knock out a home run. Shout a hip hooray. Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today. Minnesota Twins. We're gonna win, Twins. Give it our all. We've got the guys who'll knock the cover off the ball. Minnesota Twins. We're gonna win, Twins. Watch that baseball song.
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
I'll hit that ball because I told myself to hit it and I practice. I'm Rod Carew. Your child can practice batting with this.
The Rod Carew batting trainer. When your child steps on the release arm, the pitcher springs a practice ball straight up in the air at just the right height to help coordinate young batters.
Way to smoke it.
The Rod Carew batting trainer. Pitcher, retractable bat, and 3 practice balls from K-Tel.
There we go. We're here on Everything Old is New.
I never got one of those. Why? I didn't even know those existed.
That's our new sponsor. I don't know if you heard the news, Dave. But anyway, we're here back on Everything Old is New Again with David Cohen, of course, and Douglas Viviani, and Rod Carew himself. That was more or less a fungo game that you kind of would play by yourself. We called it fungo in New York, but that was, you'd step on this mechanism and a ball would fly up and you'd hit it. Rod, do you remember that? I'm going way back here on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, definitely, yeah. K-Tel came out years ago when I was a member of the Twins. But
and that's how you learned how to hit, right, Rod?
Yeah, that's how I learned how to hit. made hitting easy, you know.
I'm going to show that little commercial. I have an 8-year-old. I'm going to show it to him and inspire. He'll listen to this interview, and I'm going to inspire him to play some baseball through that. But in your career, you hit against, from what I see and what you mentioned in the book, 15 Hall of Fame pitchers: Nolan Ryan, Jim Palmer, Gaylord Perry. Not going to mention them all, but Fergie Jenkins, Dennis Eckersley, and Catfish Hunter. And in the book, you detail how you have a little story there, hitting against Catfish Hunter and Thurman Munson catching. I don't know if you want to share that with us a little bit, how you could have so much success against Catfish.
Well, you know, he had a certain pattern. Catfish, his pattern pitching against me was always to throw, you know, fastball down and then slider down and then fastball away, you know. So I knew what I was going to see every time I faced him because I had it written down in my little book. So we go into New York for a 3-game series, Friday night series, and I think I got 3 hits that night. And then Catfish was pitching the next night. So I'm standing at the cage, and Thurman Munson was going down to the bullpen, and he slapped me on the back of my head and says, "Well, what are you going to do tonight, big boy?" He says, "I'll tell you when I get into the batter's box." And he looks at me like I'm crazy. So when the game started and my first at bat, he says, "Well, what are you going to show me tonight?" I said, "I'm going to call every pitch," and I said that I'm going to call when the pitch comes that I'm going to hit, I'm going to yell it out. I'm going to yell out all the time. And Luciano's back there, and he's grinning, right? You know, he's grinning. He says, "Can you really do that?" I said, "Lucy, watch me." So Thurman had this habit of, you know, throwing dirt on my socks or tapping my bat or whatever, you know. So I finally said, "Hey, let me hit, and I'm going to show you how decent a hitter I am." So on the first pitch, you know, when Catfish delivered, you know, I yelled out, "Fastball down and in." It was fastball down and in. And so the second pitch, Thurman looks up at me and he says, "You're peeking." I says, "I'm going to have to drill you." I says, "Thurman, I don't have to peek." So the second pitch, just before he releases, I said, slide her down and in. And Herman ran out to the mound and said something to Catfish. And he comes back, and Luciano's just laughing. He's just having a good time with it. And he says, we're going to drill you because I told him that you just called the first 2 pitches, so, knock you down. So I says, hey, he's not going to knock me down because he knows that I respect him. I never show him up, after I get a base hit or anything. So I says, this is the one that you're going to enjoy, though. He says, what do you mean? I says, just watch and listen. And so Catfish goes into the windup on the 3rd pitch, and I yelled out, fastball up and away, double down the left field line. So after I got to second base, Thurman ran out, and he was yelling and screaming at me, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. I said, okay. So, and Luciano's, the next day, I was standing at the cage, and he comes up to me, Thurman comes up to me and says, how'd you do that last night? And I pulled my little black book out of my pocket, and I says, for all the years that I've faced Catfish, if you look through, you'll see that it's the same pattern. He never changes pattern against me. And so I did that for other players. I made sure that I wrote down all the little things that pitchers would do to me and the time that I really need them. All I had to do was look in that little black book, and it showed up.
I'll tell you, speaking of books, if you pull out of your back pocket the book One Tough Out, Fighting Off Life's Curveballs, you'll hear that story and many more that are very interesting behind-the-scenes stories, such as the idea of, in 77, David, do you have a follow-up? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask Rod, do you think that Catfish, got a little smart after that and changed his patterns up?
No, never did. He
really?
Never did, and that's why I was confident. Yeah, he just, the same pitch selection throughout my whole career when I faced him. And I did so well against him, but he never threw at me.
Right.
He just, challenged me and said, here it is, come and get it.
It's amazing, and that's with the computers now, Rod. That's all they're doing, right? Is creating these books, so to speak, on every little nuance of every pitcher and so forth. So I think you were sort of ahead of your time, if you will, on that. And in '77, when you were chasing Ted Williams, so to speak, that 400 season batting average, Williams described you as someone that made hitting look effortless. But we all know it's not effortless. You changed your batting stances many times. You kept a book like this. Bottom line is, you did make it look easy, but I don't think we could say it is easy to hit in the major leagues, can we?
Well, I worked at it too. I was given a gift. God gave me a gift, and He said, go out and take this gift that I've given you and work on it and get better. So, I took extra hitting probably 4 days a week because I was never comfortable with what I was doing. So I experimented, and I wanted things to come natural for me when I was at the plate. If I wanted to change in between pitch or pitch to pitch, I could do it without being concerned.
And I think it's tremendous what you did with your career and thereafter. When we come back, we have a few more questions this section, but I just want to talk about and mention BeTheMatch.org, something that I believe is near and dear to your heart. Bone marrow transplantation organization that helps treat those with leukemia. BeTheMatch.org. What I can do is let's turn to that a little bit in the next section of our show, because I want to dive into that a little bit. Before we do, I came across there's a Rod Carew Children's Cancer Golf Classic every year that you put on for the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. Maybe you could tell us a little bit of what that's about. Again, it's called the Rod Carew's Cancer Golf Classic. You can find that on Google, Rod.
Yeah, we unfortunately it's going to be canceled this year because of the pandemic.
Right.
But I got involved with charity the year after my daughter died, and so we've been doing it now for almost 25 years. And it's to raise money for children with cancer so the doctors can go in the labs and try and find a cure for this disease. It's been very successful. We don't have celebrities at the tournament or anything like that. It's all parents that come back every year, and we've been fortunate to, have at least 285 to 295 golfers every year. And it's all about, trying to help the kids. A lot of them have dreams that they would like to realize, so we're trying to get them healthy enough so that they can live those dreams. Like I had when I was a kid, a 7-year-old kid growing up in Panama, and saying to myself, one day I'm going to play in the major leagues. Those kids have those same dreams. Some of them want to be doctors or teachers or whatever. So I want to give them that opportunity to realize the things that they would like to do.
And I do want to say that I've gone on the website. Just because it's not being held this year doesn't mean, of course, you can't go on the website and make a donation to the Rod Carew Children's Cancer Golf Classic. So I would say just go to Rod Carew Golf Classic and on Google, and this will come right up. And it's well worth your time, well worth your investment, so to speak, in the future of these children. It's a great foundation. It's something that's terrific to be a smidge a part of, and I'm so happy to announce it and have us promote it a little bit. And we'll do that more when we get back right here on Everything Old is New Again. Cowful Angels. There you go. It's a shame as summer starts to fade, the outdoor barbecues with hot dogs and mustard get tucked away. But don't sweat it. Bowers is a mustard for all seasons. With a horseradish kick that continues the summer taste all year long. Spice up a leg of lamb, slather it on a steak, bake it in a brie, and of course, layer it on your favorite hot dog. In true Everything Old is New Again style, we've found a mustard that tastes as new as when the first jar was produced by August Bauer in 1888. This creamy, addictive condiment could very well have been what your grandfather used at his barbecue. Bauer's has been delighting generations for 130 years. The best-kept secret in mustard is now out of the jar. Buy a jar online at abauersmustard.com. That's ABAUERS mustard.com, or from your local store listed on their website. Again, abauersmustard.com. Bauer's Mustard, all natural, all authentic, always delicious, and recommended by all of us. And Everything Old is New Again.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything Old is New Again, with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Just like Tony, the Killer and Carew. Rod was Rookie of the Year. There was a chance, no hitter here. Under Rig and Billy the Kid, they won the West. But though Harmon kept on clouting, Tony's knees were giving out. He was never the same, but he always came and gave his best. I'm talking baseball.
There we are. We are talking baseball and more with Rod Carew. Hall of Famer Rod Carew has a tremendous book out right now, One Tough Out, Fighting Off Life's Curveballs, and it's more than baseball. It will appeal not only to the baseball fan, but the person that wants to learn a little bit about life, a little bit about spirituality, a little bit about getting through adversity. And speaking of which, Rod had a daughter, Michelle, unfortunately lost her life at age 18 due to leukemia. Now, David and I are fathers, and I tell you, I don't know how I would feel and overcome that and deal with the pain of that loss. But from what I read in the book, you never questioned your faith, and in fact you say that this event reaffirmed your faith in many ways. Is there some way you can explain that to us? I know that's a huge and deep question and is explained in the book, but is there some way you can touch upon that a little bit with us?
Well, it's as a parent, it's really hard to bury your child. And when Michelle was diagnosed with leukemia, the doctor explained to her that her blood was a little dirty, and they'll clean it up and help her, save her. And for 7 months, they did everything they could. And as a parent, you know, you're there, you're in the room with her when they're doing different things. And I never could understand how she could go through this and never cry. She never cried for 7 months. She was in the hospital. She never cried. The only day that I saw her cry was the day that she went in to get a blood test to see if it was going to work, and it didn't. She just looked at me when she was going to get this procedure done, and she says, "Dad," she said, "I'm not going to come out of that room." And in a way, I was happy because I had seen how she had suffered for 7 months, and she just, you know, she was at peace with it. And I was very proud of her that she didn't, you know, she decided to go home to God and be one of his roses in his garden. And as much as it hurt, I knew where she was going. I knew who she was going to be with. And, you know, that's how I developed my faith. And I was able to carry on because she asked me to do that. She says, "Dad, I know you don't do well with the press, the print press, but I need you to do this for me. I need you to stay involved and help these other kids that will need your help to try and survive." So that's a promise that I made to her. And to this day, you know, I keep doing things for this organization because I know how important it is and how important it is to other parents out there that might have sick children on their hands.
And like the California Angels have stated and have in their community courtyard, there's an engraving about your daughter, and it says, "When she went to sleep, she woke up the world." And as we say, since then, you created the Rod Carew Children's Cancer Golf Classic and have been involved with the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation and more. And that is such a testament to this courageous young lady. And in this book, you will come to get to know her and what a special kind of person she was in her life and what she did in school and befriending those who were friendless. And I think it's just so touching and so important a message. And I think part of that might be, I hope I don't assume too much here, but just from reading the book, that there's been a statement or something that your mother would say to you all the time, and it seems to have carried the day. God is there for you. He's always going to be there. He's going to take care of you. I don't know if you want to expand upon that a little bit, or did that have, or it seems to serve as the foundation to your life at this point?
Well, you know, it followed me throughout my whole life. That's what one thing my mother will always say to me. You know, I want you to believe. I said, I want you to have faith in God because He's going to be there with you for your whole life. He's going to be right there and He's going to help you. And so that's the way I try to lead my life, you know. I know that He's here, and I know that I'm doing things for Him because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to use my celebrity part of me to use my name and go out and do the best I can as far as raising funds for an organization like this. And so it was all because of Michelle.
Right.
You know, she made me want to do it.
And she, it's an interesting aspect of this. We can come back to it the next section. But at some point in time, she had said to you that she had seen somebody, more or less a guardian angel, in the room with her, and you had questioned that. That was just, it's so touching in the story and so important, a statement that you had made in making the book. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, about how that affected you?
Yeah, I used to lay in bed with her sometimes, and we'd do crossword puzzles. And this one evening, I was laying in bed with her. We were going through his crossword puzzle. She says, "Dad, you can't see him right now, but right over in the corner is my guardian angel. He's got his hands folded, and he's got this light around him, and he comes and he visits me all the time." And I sat there and I laid there with her, and I said to myself, "Oh, Pish," I used to call her Pish, and I said, "Okay." And saying in the back of my head, she's been on so many drugs that maybe she's seen things, and one time she went into septic shock, and we thought we were going to lose her. And when she got out of it, I said, "Are you okay?" She says, "Yeah." She says, "I was in this tunnel with light, and the angels were telling me to go back, but they weren't ready for me." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." But the same thing happened to me when I had my heart attack. I was laying down on the floor, and this paramedic was above me, and he had the two pads in his hand getting ready to bring me back to life because I had passed out. I looked at the paramedic, and he had a light going around him, and I just said to myself, "That's Michelle. She's protecting me." And it's crazy, you think all these things, and you don't know where they're coming from, but when you have a trust in God and you believe in Him, then you realize that it's all His work.
And it's a great work that he then in turn had you produce, The One Tough Out: Fighting Off Life's Curveballs by Rod Carew. It's a great read. Obviously, you can see here there's more to it than a baseball story, so it has so much in this book for everyone and is written in great prose. It's really worth your while. It's a terrific read, and you can get it anywhere. Also, feel free to go to the Rod Carew Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. I'll give you the initials for it. It's, of course, RC-RF-Kids.org. So it's something, if you just go to the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation on Google, or Rod Carew, and mix the words up in any combination you like, you're going to get to this fantastic foundation, and also BeTheMatch.org, a bone marrow transplantation organization that we're going to talk about when we come back right after this on Everything Old is New Again with the great Rod Carew, Hall of Famer. We're so very happy to have him here. It's amazing that we're able to get him here on Everything Old is New Again, but it's an absolute pleasure, and it's perfect for our show, of course, because we focus on the past, keeping in mind that it all has an influence upon how we are here today and in the future. So it's a perfect guest, perfect book. We're having a great time with Rod Carew, One Tough Out. We'll be back right after this, and Everything Old is New Again.
Just like Tony, the Killer, and Carew.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
There's a drive to left field, base hit. There's number 3,000 for Carew. Some great names names in the 3,000 hit club. Ty Cobb, Pete Rose, Henry Aaron, Stan Musial, Price Speaker, Jonas Wagner, Carl Yastrzemski, Eddie Collins, Willie Mays, Hap Anson, Lou Brock, Al Kaline, and Roberto Clemente, and now Rod Carew.
And Rod Carew's with us here, and Everything Old is New again with David Cohen. David, you enjoying yourself?
Oh, very much so. Can I ask Rod just another baseball question?
Absolutely.
Rod, I always wondered, when Doug and I were growing up, and every year you seem to be batting over 300. Doug and I were talking before we went on the air that you were almost taken for granted that you were just one of those baseball players that no matter what city you lived in and what team you rooted for, you just knew every year Rod was going to be one of the best there was, and you were the kind of player that you just wanted on your own home team. Like, I always wished you were on the Yankees. I knew you couldn't be. That was okay. I always enjoyed watching you play. And my question for you is... Well, I could have been. You could have been. So what happened?
Yeah. Well, there's so much that goes on in New York. I'm just a little quiet me. Didn't know if you could handle that. So I came to California instead.
Yeah, I understand that.
I had 3 clubs to choose from because I was a 10-year player on one club. So after I went to San Francisco, and the guy told me, he says, we want you to know that there's no summer in San Francisco. So I figured out there's summer in Anaheim, so I better go there. And then I'd heard some great things about Mr. Autry that I really wanted to get to know him and play for him. And the guys told me, Lyman Bostock and Danny Ford told me, you're not going to regret coming here. So this is where I ended up, and I've enjoyed it, for the 7 years that I played here. I really, really enjoyed it.
Great. Well, listen, I'm sorry you didn't come to New York, but I'm happy that you were happy out there with the Angels.
It was just amazing how you were on the television all the time on the Saturday, game of the week, on the on the All-Star games and so forth. And again, just an amazing story of consistency in batting, but not in batting stances. As kids, we wanted to emulate everyone's different batting stance, and we tried to emulate yours, and we changed all the time. So you ruined it for us. You were the trivia question of the ballpark or of the the pool party, because we could have 7 kids with 7 stances and they were all yours. Tell us what that was all about.
Well, I used to make adjustments. In baseball, you have to make adjustments to who you're facing. So I could make an adjustment from pitch to pitch or at bat to at bat. And it's something, like I said, I practiced, I took extra hitting at least 4 times a week, and this is what I did with my extra hitting. I monkeyed around with things so that if I have to use them in a game, that they're familiar to me and they're not, some crazy thing that I'm doing that is not going to work. All the stances that I use, they usually work for me.
Right, that's for sure, and it worked for us watching you. We really enjoyed it. I'll tell you, it's a privilege to have you here. And part of that is that you're still here because you survived through suffering heart and kidney issues in 2016. And we'll give a few minutes here, and if you read the book, you get a much more of an idea of what's going on here. And it's called the book is called One Tough Out. But a gentleman by the name of Conrad Ruland had quite an effect. A 29-year-old which is your number, had quite an influence upon your life in 2016. I don't know if you want to tell us a little about meeting him at age 11 and 20 years later. What was the influence?
Yeah, I was, my kids went to school, same school that Conrad went to, and I was there for a basketball game because my son was on the basketball team. So I was walking around outside, and this kid comes up to me, he says, "You're Rod Carew, aren't you?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, when I grow up, I want to be an athlete." And I says, "Remember, don't forget about your schoolwork. Let that be important to you." He says, "Oh, I'm a good student, so, but I know I'm going to be an athlete." I says, "Okay." And sure enough, he grew up football player, played at Notre Dame. He played for the Jets. He played for the Ravens. And he was in between probably signing another contract, possibly with the Raiders. Not the Raiders, the Patriots. And while working out, he had an aneurysm. And he's 29 years old. My uniform number is 29. And I think I had about a week or so to live because my LVAD machine was kind of wearing out on me, which I'd used for about 14 months. That kept me alive. And here comes this kid 20 years later, and I get his heart, and I get a kidney, and he replaced my Volkswagen with a Maserati. And now he's pumping me up and keeping me alive and traveling with me. And so we wanted people to understand, that they have to take care of their hearts and stuff. God didn't just give it to you for you to smoke it away or drink it away or, not take care of it. So that's why I'm living today, because of Conrad Rural.
And it's an amazing story. And as you say, excuse me, as you say in the book, through a quote of Pastor Rick Warren, if you're alive, there's a purpose for your life. And certainly you're showing us quite a purpose in life after a tremendous Hall of Fame, well-known career. So I think it's interesting, and the message that you're presenting to us in this book, I'm just going to read one sentence here, a quote, or two sentences. My purpose in life is improving the lives of other people. Yet what I've come to learn is this: when your aim is helping others, the person you help most is yourself. So I think that's a significant statement, and I don't know if you want to expand upon that a little bit with us here. A little.
And you know where I got that statement from? Is from Jackie Robinson, reading his book. And he says the difference that you can make in the life of someone else is what life is all about. And Conrad made a difference in my life by keeping me alive. And so I hopefully can do the same for someone out there that reads the book and understands that, heart disease is the number one killer in this country. And you have to be aware of that. And when you feel something happen, you've got to get it checked out. And that's what happened to me, too. This friend of mine was in Las Vegas playing craps, and he felt something funny in his chest, and he picked his money up, went to the doctor in the hotel, and they told him that he had like a 95% blockage, and to get home and let his cardiologist, take care of it. And so when I went out that morning to play golf by myself, I felt a little indigestion burn in my chest, and then as I'm putting my clubs back in the bag, my hands got really balmy, wet. So I was on hole one, and I backed my cart up, went into the pro shop, and I asked the lady to call the paramedics because I feel there's something going on in my chest. And so I just laid down on the bench and waited for them to get there, and it seems like they were there in 2 minutes. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to understand.
Absolutely, and the
number one killer.
Absolutely, and if unfortunately you have some difficulty with that situation and you need a transplant, BeTheMatch.org. BeTheMatch.org,
right.
The bone marrow transplantation organization, is there for you. They were there for you, and they can be there for anyone. And they are looking for, of course, all of us to participate. So go to their website, BeTheMatch.org. Of course, there's also the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. There's Rod Carew's Children Cancer Golf Classic. And I'll tell you, they're all worth your while to please take a look at. And finally, read this book because it will affect you for the better, as Rod Carew has with us here on Everything Old is New Again. One Tough Out, Fighting Off Life's Curveballs. Rod Carew, thank you so much for spending time with us here on Everything Old is New Again.
Thanks so much, Doug. One thing before you go, a good friend of mine, Reggie Jackson, was the one that named the book. So I've got to give kudos to Mr. Jackson. Yeah.
This book...
I'm sure it has good stories about Billy Martin, too, right?
Exactly. So we go full circle here. We will enjoy, I'm telling you, One Tough Out by Rod Carew. We'll be back next week to talk all things pop culture on Everything Old's New Again.
It's a leadoff triple for baseball's best hitter.
These days, the news is full of teen suicide, drug, and alcohol abuse. It's depressing and concerning, but there is hope. Former WWE Intercontinental Champion Mark Merrow.
Champion Choice is a live presentation that empowers students to make positive choices and live their best lives. Teach students how to live a drug-free life, prevent bullying, avoid peer pressure, and keep negative people out of their life. We are defined by our choices. There is hope.
To schedule a Champion Choices presentation for your school or organization, visit thinkpos.org. You've been listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's pop culture entertainment talk show. Find us on the web at everythingoldisnewagain.biz. That's .biz.
See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.